Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chat to JP. Yeah, that's right, that's the series where I chat about chat and voice, conversational AI, and all of those other things. If you're joining live, lovely to have you with us. Drop some comments in the below, and I will chat with you about it. Now, in terms of what we're talking about today, as the description above this window, wherever you're watching it, would suggest, or maybe below if it's on YouTube, we're talking about more companies banning the use of tools like ChatGPT in the workplace. And I think that this is going to be a growing trend. Here's what I'm talking about. People are already trying to use ChatGPT for all sorts of things in their offices. Whether you're a knowledge worker sitting around at a desk or you're out in the field doing this on your mobile device, the likelihood is that at some point in the past few months, if you're in any way technologically minded, you have probably turned to ChatGPT to get something done, whether that was helping you write an email, researching a topic, or maybe rewording or drafting a document of some description. And this is where the problem comes in. You see, when we begin to use these types of tools in the workplace, we start potentially dealing with, well, proprietary information, stuff that we might not want other companies to have access to. And according to an article overnight in The Verge, this is something that one of many companies, like in the media space, have also jumped into. According to this report, iHeartMedia's CEO has, in a letter to the team at iHeart, the major media conglomerate in the US, told basically that workers that they're not to be using ChatGPT on corporate devices, so on laptops and mobile devices. And he, in this letter, apparently it writes, "It's as tempting as it is, iHeart and media employees were not to use ChatGPT because there were concerns that although ChatGPT and other conversational tools can be really helpful," and that is referenced here, we want to be smart about implementing these tools ourselves. And for example, it says here, if you're uploading iHeart information to a platform like ChatGPT, it will effectively train the AI. Okay, let's break some of this down, because these guys are not the first of their like to be cancelling ChatGPT inside of companies. In fact, it's happening all over the places. iHeart here joined the likes of Apple, Spotify, and many others who've started restricting the use of ChatGPT on company devices. And the main concern, as I say, is the likelihood or chance that proprietary data can leak. Now, okay, why is that? Well, it's important to understand that ChatGPT, we should note, has been trained on publicly open available data on the web up until around about April 2021. And that data set kind of ends there. But of course, if you're using ChatGPT and you have not opted out of using your data, which is something you can do in the interface, if you've not opted out of using your data, then you are essentially giving OpenAI the ability to store that data, anything you're putting into that chat window, and have them use it to continue to train future instances of the GPT model. And of course, this presents a really interesting paradox for companies, as we're seeing here with this example coming from iHeart, because if you are an employee at a media company like this, and we've seen similar, as I say, announcements from the likes of Apple, Spotify, Samsung, and many others, then there is obviously a chance that you might be inadvertently, accidentally even, putting in proprietary information about the business into a service like this. Now, hopefully, this should kind of come as pretty common sense for most of us who might work in kind of larger organisations, or if you've worked in the media in any way, that it's probably not a great idea to be putting all of your kind of sensitive information out into any kind of online service that you haven't got some kind of enterprise license to. Obviously, this has been a concern for a while with people just starting up, so easy to start up SaaS licenses for different accounts, whether you're using Canva for making presentations, maybe you're using some kind of online editing service, and of course this whole new wave of generative AI services kind of fit within that bracket. It can be tempting, can't it, to just start using a new tool because, hey, it's helpful, it's going to help me get the job done. But of course, we've got to be mindful that when you start putting company information, maybe it's information about new product developments or new services, HR related things, or anything that falls under things like GDPR, you're essentially putting that into an AI bot. And whilst it feels like it's just having a conversation with someone, it's doing more than that. You're actually putting information out there for people to use to train future versions of the algorithm, future versions of the large language model in this case. And so it's important that we understand that. Now, okay, what's going to happen in the broader space here? What are we going to see? Well, It's important to note that from iHeart's perspective, they are obviously not averse to AI at all. We've seen them use a lot of AI in building the iHeart Media platform, particularly in the radio space, amongst others, launching things like DJs powered by AI. And that's even led to some layoffs in certain cases as well. And they do also mention here, and let me see if I can find this article, that iHeart Media is also planning on using artificial intelligence to build out other types of services and really change, well, as it says here, the cost structure of the company. It can fundamentally upend what they've been doing. So they're not anti-AI in this sense, but it is important to note that this is probably the larger trend that we're going to see across organizations. What I think we're going to encounter is that more and more big businesses will not be relying upon these types of front end tools that we're seeing here. We're seeing obviously the likelihood that more and more licenses will become available for you to use the algorithms and the APIs and the large language models in a way that is a secure environment where your data is not going to go and train future versions of that model and therefore potentially benefit other people. Now, why in particular are large language models a problem when it comes to this? Well, obviously anyone can go and prompt ChatGPT to get an answer. And that answer is going to be built up on next token prediction of the next word in the chain based upon all of the data that it already has in its database. And so if you are beginning to put more of your corporate data in there, of course, there's an off chance. And I think it's a slim chance. I mean, this isn't going to be happening to us all of the time, but there's a slim chance that somebody else, maybe one of your competitors, could be doing research in ChatGPT about you. And that proprietary information could begin to slip through if they start redeploying that data into future versions of the model. So, well, what are we going to see people do? How are we going to get away from this scenario where we're just banning the use of these tools? I think what we're going to end up seeing is more and more companies are going to start building their own proprietary large language model technology, tools that are trained specifically on the data sets that live inside of the companies. You think of all of your PR, all of your social media, all of your content, all of your SEO work, all of that data that sits within the organization. And they're going to want to train that on a language model that's then going to go and live inside of your broader company, right? You're not going to be using one of these public language models. You might be using it as a foundation model, a baseline to go and train a new model for yourself, but more likely you're going to end up with companies building their own models inside of businesses. Now, it's worth saying that OpenAI are probably concerned about this as much as anybody else is. They're trying to address these concerns by giving you the option to opt out of keeping your chat history within ChatGPT, and also we're seeing obviously enterprise editions are being talked about being in the works, therefore being able to kind of hive off any data you're putting into the model, so it can't be trained or can't be used to be trained elsewhere. So I think the main thing here to take away is, it's a real balancing act, isn't it? To balance the benefits of these types of tools in our organizations. They can be enormously beneficial and transformative. It's essential that we think about how to use these things to, quite frankly, keep the economy going and be more efficient, get more done, not necessarily to provoke more people not having jobs, but to make them much more effective in their jobs. But if you are working with any kind of sensitive user data, just treat it with caution. Think about, have I understood everything that I'm putting in here, and is there anything sensitive? And if there is, then maybe just hold back for a minute. I hope that was a helpful little dive into this topic. If you've got your own thoughts on this, let me know in the comments below. Perhaps your company has decided to not let people use things like ChatGPT in the office. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've got other thoughts, then let me know and I'll cover it in future episodes of this series. If you want to connect, then it's up there. Don't forget you can find me at all social media platforms at James Poulter. And I hope to see you back here for another episode of Chat to JP very soon. Cheers.